Okay, so welcome back to our series on 2011 predictions for this coming year. Now, there's a number of videos in this series, so right now I'm going to cover a rundown of a few basic things, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about power outages. I believe that sometime this year, after February, there's going to be a very shocking event. My intuition is saying that some large event, there's something that puts people over the top. A lot of people are on the edge here. Not necessarily that violence is going to break out or anything like that, but just some sort of awareness shift that, look, okay, you know what? The water's up to our necks, folks. So you got to start swimming or do something, whatever, get a boat. Now, so I think something like that's going to happen. I'm waiting for my own sense of what exactly. We had that incident that just happened with the congresswoman, but I had written this before that, but that's not what was on my mind. More economic decline. Pretty much, I think we're going to stagnate for a while. A lot of people are shifting. I mean, when people are out of a job for a long time, they just start getting resourceful about different things. They live differently. They stop looking for a job. Maybe they start a little business or something like that. So I think a lot of that, is going to decline. But really, the bigger stores might be the big sufferers because individuals and local people, there's always a lot of people locally who would rather not drive 50 miles. Maybe they'll support a store that's right in their own town or something, or maybe more online businesses, for example. More weather problems. I talked about that in another video, and I believe there's going to be some major earthquakes this year. There was one, I think, I'm trying to read about it in Australia, off near Australia, 7.0. There's been flooding already in Australia big time this year. Now, I think people along the coastline everywhere in the world, it's always likely, I mean, the chances are very high. So I might start thinking about higher levels of terrain. Domestic unrest will continue. A lot of people are just really fed up. I mean, the politicians are not making decisions in time. They're quarreling all the time, all around the world, every different culture and belief. It's the same old way. The leaders, yakety yak, 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 yak. And meanwhile, people have to make decisions about their lives. They got to act, it affects their food supply or their climate. So people will have to act. I mean, everywhere around the world, they're going to do stuff. I believe oil is going to skyrocket and gold on speculation, but ultimately tools. What has real value? Let's say, okay, the bank's closed or whatever. Let's say, you're really down to, 100 years ago. I mean, do you know how to grow food? Do you know how to deal with animals? Do you have any tools? Do you have any equipment? Can you make solar energy or wind energy? Are you clever? Can you fix things? Those kind of skills are going to be gold, not just the real gold. UFOs, more and more people, okay, look, okay, UFOs exist, let's have dinner, okay, but the consequences, listen, there's going to be technology, interesting things going on. A lot of people, they don't understand. There's consciousness can take a lot of different forms, as we know, but we don't think about it very much. I mean, there are human beings, people with a human body, who, boy, they are awfully like animals, And then there's other human beings that are just very different, and there's a whole big range of different kinds of human bodies and beings. But how conscious are we of the value of being a human being? Because we have resources, we can make decisions, and we can adjust to things. But there are other beings, and the idea that there aren't, I mean, so how do you approach other beings the same way? Just humility and, respect and, try to find out what they're like. But, again, darkness is everywhere. But, it's up to us to deal with some of these things. Now, there's a lot of other things that I think are going to be going on too. There's some astronomical dates. Now, I'm into I study astrology. I've done that for a long time. I don't base predictions just on astrology, but I have found amazing, amazing coincidences by studying astrology. The symbolism is very deep, and clearly, deep, deep, deep in our past, the astronomy and astrology was based on something to do with energy, which we have not quite approached yet. Well, maybe we're getting some of it now, but the idea that there are these immense objects, we call them just planets. Oh yeah, we just look at, oh, there's Jupiter. Well, what you're pointing to is, I mean, if it was very close to you, you would just drop on your butt, you know. I mean, so that's what's out there, you know. And as far as where consciousness can go in this universe, I think we're just starting to get some of the idea, you know, through a lot of practice of meditation and reviving ancient traditions and modern science. Now, I have a few dates here. April 3rd, there's a new moon. Some opposition, some difficult things there. Mars, Pluto, and Uranus in the squares. September, new moon. June 3rd, grand square. February 28th. Now, I was going to talk about power outages a little bit. I'll go into some of these dates in another video, but power outages can be caused by a lot of different factors. They can be accidental, they can be earthquake, they can be flood, they can be infrastructure, they can be just overuse, there can be political things, there can be non-payment of bills, there can be big scale, large area, small area, power outages. So, power outages, we need our equipment, basic lights, heat, so on. So, we're very fortunate these days to have systems available that are really, really effective, because a lot of our devices don't use more than, say, 24 volts. And there's a lot of 12 and 24 volt batteries out there. God forbid something happen, there's junkyards full of batteries. If they can still take a charge, you can charge them up with solar, and you can charge them up with wind, and you can charge them up with water, water flow. And if you charge up these batteries and convert it to AC using an inverter with a voltage regulator. A lot of these available now. They make them by the millions. They're all kinds. Even cars have regulators in them now, very sophisticated ones. So if you convert that energy from the sun or wind or water into electricity, you can do a lot of stuff. I mean, I mean, imagine how they lived in Native America thousands of years ago, right out there in the snow with their teepees or whatever. And imagine if they had solar. Imagine if they had lights, electric lights, computers, and they lived in a teepee. I mean, imagine what they have. They have a combination of very, very high technology and very time-proven techniques of housing. So I think people should think a lot about getting alternative energy sources of every different size and shape. And even in some areas, geothermal. And learning some basic electronics, getting some little tools, some test equipment that is very, very common, easy to get these days. Get some books, talk to friends. A lot of people these days have plenty of knowledge about how to connect up an electronic system for basic power. So I'm going to cover some of the other things because we only have a limit of 10 minutes for YouTube. So this one was about power outages and a few other things, and we're going to discuss some of the other predictions I have and go into more detail.